All right, hey everybody, it's Jace here from Black Ovis. I have a special guest here today. This is Mr. Nick Fisher from AAE. I'm sure you guys have seen AAE products out there. They have a multitude of awesome products that are going to make your lives easier in the archery world. Nick, thanks for joining us, man.
Man, appreciate you having us
Yeah,
here.
it's TAC week, exciting things going on around here. No better time to talk about Vanes, arrow building, and just AAE as a brand. You guys have been a super strong partner of us for a long time, and we have not only through our retail store on blackovis.com, but also the custom arrow builder. And we just feel so confident when somebody orders using AAE products. We know that they're going to get a really good product in the end. And we're going to also talk about some of the frequently asked questions we get. And I see some of these builds roll in with maybe a really small Vane, and it concerns me. Like, I hope they're shooting the correct broadhead for that. So I kind of want to talk about that with you today. I feel like you have a very expert eye for that, and yeah, let's just kind of go from there. So
sounds good.
But I think one good touching point, like you have a new material out this year in a handful of your best selling profiles, and also a newer profile for you. So let's talk about that. So here in front of us we have some air razors.
Yeah, so new for 24 is the Air Razor line of vanes. We've been working on it for a couple of years, and just trying to bring something to the market that's going to get into that thinner, lightweight, stiff vane. Air razors, this material is all new to us. We went through 11 different styles of materials, different blends. This material itself is a blend of, I can't say, but a lot of different materials.
I can imagine, yeah.
Probably first and foremost, the coolest thing about it is that it works with our factory applied activator. So it adheres the same way as
you don't
hybrid.
Need this guy.
No primer pen.
That's super cool.
You don't want to use the primer pen on it, and this material doesn't agree with the primer pen.
Good to know.
So first step there, the product's been out for about 6 months now, and that's the first complaint we get. So many people are just using Maxes. They buy a Max adhesion kit and boom, instantly go to applying
a new
primer
material,
right?
And
they'll put it on hybrids, which for the most part we don't see issues with using the primer pen on hybrids. But again, it's not necessary. It's not required. Our factory applied activator works on air razors and hybrid elite trad vanes extremely well. Max material, whole different base material, does not work with our factory applied activator.
So in other words, if you see Max on that, you know that you need this, right?
Correct.
Like for those of you watching, that's a very common question we get at Black Ovis as well. Is like, well, why aren't these sticking? Or I use the primer pen and they just don't. They fail to read your little instructions. How many places are your instructions in?
Well, if you buy a Max adhesion kit and the packet vanes, it's in 7.
Oh, is that all? Okay.
Yeah.
So just none of us like to read instructions,
yeah.
but please
just dump it all out, throw the instructions.
Yeah.
But it's still, as you can see right there on the pen.
It's Max Weld, MAX. So just those of you watching know that if you're using AAE products, if it says Max, please use a primer pen. If it doesn't say Max, save yourself some money and some headache, and don't use a primer pen. You heard that from the man himself. So
sounds like
hopefully that helps. Yeah. They have heard it from me, I'm sure of it, but it looks better coming from you. So yeah, I can't say enough good about the air razors. I've been probably since a little after ATA when I got my first ones and been shooting them, and they're like lick and stick. I use your glue. I think it's Max Bond, right?
Yep.
Glue them up, and I haven't had a single issue with getting them to stick. And I love how stiff the material is, and I don't have to worry about it crinkling up in my quiver. Like, they're quiet because of that. I don't feel like I get any ripple in flight, and I'm shooting a hair over 300 foot a second. One could say if I have a setup that's going to show noisy, arrow flight, it would probably be it. So, what is your most quiet vane? Maybe here on the table or just in general? Like, I get that question a lot. Like, what is the most quiet vane setup out there?
To date, of everything I've tested, and I've tested every profile.
Not just from you, but
no, everything.
Yeah.
And the Air Razor 26 is the quietest vane we've tested.
So that's the one here in your hand, right?
If you just wanted to build specifically a setup, what I like to say, the whitetail wood setup, it's going to be 3 or 4 Fletch in the Air Razor 26. 3 Air Razor 26s will steer the majority of all fixed heads. It's way more vane than you need for any mechanical. It's perfect for a hybrid head. Maybe if you're shooting a bigger fixed, you might have to go to 4 Fletch.
Give me an example of a bigger fixed out there. Like, are we talking like an iron will, like a big 2-blade, or like
no? The stock 1-inch iron will 3 Fletch we see great performance with. If you they have a Magnum that maybe
Okay.
certain tunes you might want to go to a 4-fletch there. There's some big 4-fletch heads. There's some low-grade heads, and I don't
Yeah.
want to trash too many names out
Right,
there.
right.
But basically, if you bought it from Walmart, run 4 Vanes.
Yeah.
You know, there's just some low-grade heads out there that the manufacturing quality is very low on it.
Yeah.
Combine those with a bad tune or even a mediocre tune, and you're going to have an arrow just
Yeah.
soaring off into the middle of nowhere.
We see common, like I was just saying, maybe too small of a vein or overkill, where unless somebody's shooting like the biggest fixed blade that's currently built, I don't feel like you need 4 of these babies.
No,
it's
very
pretty rare.
rare.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I'm in the market of selling vanes, first and foremost, above everything we
Yeah.
do. We're a vane company, but there is most certainly such a thing as too much vane.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we have all these different shapes, sizes, profiles. There's an end result that you're looking for, you know.
And everybody's different. That's the hard thing about archery is there's no cookie cutter setup nowadays.
No,
Got
there's not.
everything from a 166 shaft to guys are still hunting with aluminums out there. And so we talked about the Razer 26. What's this one in front of me? It's the Talon, correct?
Yep, the Talon 3.0 It was specifically designed for crossbows.
Oh, okay.
It's same height as the 26. It's 1/2 inch tall. It's a stretched version of the Hunter profile that you're familiar with on the Max
Yeah.
Hunter. But really, what we were after was a really lightweight, high-speed crossbow vane.
Okay.
We've also found it works phenomenal with bigger fix. So instead of having to run 4 26s, 3 Talons are a great option. They're still super light. They're only 8.5 grains.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, so that much more vane. It's the same weight as a Max Hunter. Extremely quiet.
So still a good fit for majority of compound archers shooting fixed heads.
For a
Would be an
fixed head,
awesome one.
that's probably the route I personally
Some
would go.
helical on it or,
Oh,
or
yeah.
an offset.
Everything we do, you know, all of our testing, we found 2 degrees with helical. I believe in clocking, so
Okay.
know which way your arrows need to be clocked.
Yep.
But 2 degrees with helical is the optimum.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. I have played around with some of these on some standard 246 diameter shafts earlier this year, and man, they seemed quiet too. Similar to like a 26, they were just extremely quiet. So
When you stretch that profile out that long, even though we have the steeper attack angle on the front, it just really reduces the amount of vacuum that's created on the back of the vane, which starts combine that with the thinner, stiffer material, which has less drag, so all the sound is reduced.
wow, that's cool. That's good to know. I personally, this is some of my personal arrows sitting here in front of me. I've been playing around with that, the Pro, basically a real small 1.7 inch. Is that correct? Low profile shield cut and a left offset of about, I'm guessing 2 degrees. And I think it's going to be a really home run setup for me this year. Longer range, mechanicals out west here. So I want to kind of hear you elaborate on that one a little bit.
Yeah, no, obviously that profile, you know, it's proven itself on the 3D circuit with the Max Vane, the Pro Max, and it's a fantastic profile for mechanical heads. You know, again, a 3-fletch for a smaller mechanical, 4-fletch up to, you know, maybe a mechanical that's a little more exposure like a Rage,
Blade, yeah.
or even going into, you know, four of those will even steer a small fixed head. Like the Evolution Jekyll or say a Micro Hades.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, I've been super happy with it so far. I haven't played with any fixed heads, but I mean, we're weeks away now at this point, so that's next on the docket. But and then, you know, you and I kind of touched on this earlier. This has been one of my favorites for a long time. So this is a hybrid 23. I know you and I both love this vane. How are you running it, and you know, what are you going to be shooting as far as broadhead and stuff goes with this year?
So I actually run the Max 23. So same profile, of course, if you're familiar with the materials. The hybrid's the easy to fletch version. The Max requires a primer pin, but a little more durable, and it's a grain lighter. But the 23 is my go-to, and I actually use it in a 5-fletch, which obviously for those of you who go, how are you
Some
doing a 5-fletch?
heads are going to spin off when you say that, yeah.
We have our 456 bits knob adapter that does permit you to 5-fletch, and it was just a thought of, oh, this would be fun to do, and some quick math, and I realized 5 Max 23s weigh the same as 3 Max Stealths. Okay, let's try it out.
Much lower profile.
Right,
Yeah.
much lower profile, so at 120 yards, impact point was the same. But in a 10-mile-an-hour crosswind, we see about 30% less wind.
Wow.
Sounds very similar. So, and I actually still feel it probably does steer better than 3 Max Stealths will, just because of the increase in leading edges.
That's super cool. I'd call that like the Antelope Extreme setup right there.
Yeah.
Windy,
Hey,
long range.
Antelope Extreme. I'm a one bow, one arrow kind of guy.
Yeah, I
so,
hear you.
know.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
If it'll hit an antelope at 120 yards, it's sure not going to have a problem with a whitetail at 12.
You're exactly right. Well, that's cool. This is obviously some of your tried and true profiles here. This is the Max Hunter. You guys are kind enough to print our Black Ovis logo on there, which is super cool. Those are available through our custom shop, Arrow ID, Black Ovis Arrow ID. We do our logo on a lot of things, and I know that's a huge part of your business. You guys do a lot of printing for different manufacturers and partners in the industry as well, correct?
Yeah, and actually, custom Vane or custom printing options have grown exponentially.
It seems like it.
We are producing so many just for dealers now.
That's
and
super
it's
cool.
really an easy way to. We like to call it free advertising.
Yeah.
It's a very, very minimal cost, and the most photographed thing in archery happens to be the Vane, because the shot everybody has is the archer at full draw, and the Vane's right there.
Right by their face. Yeah, it's super cool.
So there's no better way than to get that logo inclusion than right on the money shot. Boom.
Yeah,
Right there.
that's awesome. Well, I think we accomplished the biggest thing I want to talk about is just different materials and when to use a primer pin, when not to use a primer pin, and then also, just Vane selection in general. We see a lot of issues where people are claiming they're maybe not getting the best arrow flight, and the farther we dig into it, we realize they may be running a really small Vane like this with a bigger fixed blade or even a mechanical, and they haven't tuned their bow in 3 years. And so that was kind of my goal here. You guys can reach out to us at Black Ovis, on our customer service side of things, or please, AAE has a phenomenal customer service team as well, and they see a lot more of these questions than we do. But you heard it from the man himself. I hope you got some good ideas on how your arrow build should look from here going forward. And if you do have those questions, you have some resources now to help you out with that. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Nick, thank you so much for coming down.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.